What's going on, everybody? LK here, back at it again with another video, and today something a little bit different for you guys. Before Persona 5 started the entire Persona series, we were lucky enough to get a kind of weird Persona spin-off. So I was a fan of these games for a long time, and when they announced a Persona 4 fighting game, I was like, well, this is kind of random, you know? Like, if you guys don't know, and you're not, traditional daily watchers of my channel, I am playing a fighting game called Dragon Ball FighterZ right now. And for Dragon Ball Z, Dragon Ball, the original Dragon Ball GT, you would expect a fighting game. That show is about fighting, right? You fight in the Persona games, but this is not quite the type of game you would expect to come out of the Persona series. After this game, they came out with a bunch of other spin-offs like Persona Dancing, there's P5 Strikers, there's all these other games. And I remember when they announced this game, everybody was surprised. People who played the RPGs, people who were longtime fighting game players like myself, even at that time, we were like, well, this is super random, but very cool. But the issue is, and this is a pretty common issue that people have in fighting games, myself personally, I'm kind of cool when this happens, but a lot of people list this as a complaint, and that is small rosters, right? So a couple of games I played before this, for example, BlazBlue in arcades came out with 10 characters, BlazBlue Calamity Trigger, and then the complete quote-unquote version has a whopping 12 characters. Even games I played after this, like Guilty Gear Sign, premiered with like 14 characters. So if you think about the original P4 party, you got Narukami, Chie, Yosuke, Teddy, Kanji, Naoto, and Rise, right? So you have 7 characters. Street Fighter 2, which came out in like 1992 or something, has 8 characters. So we were like, how are they going to do characters in this game? Which finally brings me to the topic of this video, why a Persona 3 character is the best character in Persona 4. So they ended up adding Persona 3 characters. I remember thinking distinctly, like, man, can't wait to play as my P4 waifu Naoto, so obviously I have the best taste. But if somehow, because even I knew, I was like, they can't really add less characters than BlazBlue CT to this game. So if they add P3 characters, I could try playing Mitsuru, my waifu in P3. And lo and behold, the second announcement, the second round of characters was indeed Mitsuru Kirijo. So the characters are kind of grouped. So we have the Persona 4 characters, just the investigation team. We have the P3 characters, a couple, not all of them. No Yukari, for instance, no Junpei. And then a couple of characters exclusive to the game, Labras and Shadow Labras. So this game actually is balanced in an interesting way, to say the least. So I actually recently made a Dragon Ball FighterZ tier list for Season 3.5, and a lot of people have been kind of turned off by the fact that basically the entire cast is viable. So not just viable too, but strong. So you have things like people ranking things like top tier, then S plus, then S, then S minus, then A plus, and people are like, yo, what's the point, man? The point is that everyone's good. This game is actually relatively well balanced, but in a really weird way. So the cast is pretty small, but out of the small cast, I'd say there's probably like 13 characters in the game offhand. 6 or 7 of them are S tier. So you have a pretty good chance of picking a top tier character if you play the game at all. The characters that are not in S tier are mostly in A tier. There's a couple of duds, but it'd be like that sometimes, right? Shout out to Elizabeth, by the way. I am so sad that she was bad in this game, but she's memeing us, whatever. So Mitsuru was in this group actually, and I tried really hard to find footage of this. There just really isn't any good clear footage, but the console version that we are familiar with, Persona 4 Arena, that's not the original version of the game. That's actually the 1.1 version of the game. The original version of the game is quite busted. Chie is ridiculous. Mitsuru is even better. So they nerfed a few things, just small little changes, because just partly quality of life, partly just evening the playing field. And then they released 1.1, which is what we got on consoles. So let's take a look at Mitsuru, right? So Mitsuru is a pretty standard character. She's like a fencing style character. She has a stinger like Dante from Marvel's Capcom 3. She has very big normals as well. So what makes her so good in this game? So first, it is the normals. Her 5A is massive. That's her jab, if you can believe it. So it is slower than normal, but it covers a huge range. And characters have really tough problems dealing with it. So even characters like Chie, who's actually a bad matchup for Mitsuru, Chie is also a top tier character. She has kind of stubby buttons, and she can't actually directly challenge this move. She has to do things like go under it, or try to guess and go over it. It can be kind of tough for her to deal with. This move was a huge factor into how good she was. Another one is her jump A, which is equally huge and has very little recovery. The downside is that you can't combo off it very easily, even on counter hits. So it takes quite a bit of skill to actually convert this into a full combo, where the theme with other characters is that they could basically hit confirm anything into combos. That's a huge advantage in a fighting game, and Mitsuru is just not that great at it, unfortunately. What Mitsuru is really good at is comboing you. If she actually gets a combo, then she does a lot of damage, and the life bar is not that huge in this game. This game is kind of designed to be like a 3-touch, 4-touch kind of game to win, and there's a mechanic in the game that, you know, when you're dying, you get a defense boost and access to extra super. It's different for everybody, and extra meter for free. So it's not quick. The rounds aren't too quick unless you're really getting bodied, for lack of a better word. But Mitsuru specifically does a ton of damage. If she's able to hit confirm into counter hits, then she's able to go into huge combos, especially if the opponent is crouching or near the corner. This means she can usually kill you in like 3 hits or sometimes 2 hits, where most characters are killing you in like 3 or 4 hits, or they rely on like comeback mechanics, relying on their late game supers and things like that to come back on you. Now that's all well and good, but how do you compete with the other established top tiers, right? So normals are good, damage is crazy, but, you know, Chia, if she hits you, she knocks you down, she makes you guess. She puts her persona, her little stand, her JoJo stand on you. It spins, she jumps at you, and she could go high, low at the same time. Vary her timing, she could do all these things, and she can loop it. Narukami, same thing. What can Mitsuru do to compete with these type of hits? We learned over time, she can set an ice wall on you. So this is Bufala from the RPG, right? So she has a version that travels really far and pulls the opponent in, and she has the normal Bufala that just kind of hovers over their body. In the corner, you could use the normal Bufala to set up a 50-50 as well, with an unseeable overhead, jumping medium, and her low 2L. There will be people who'll be like, well, they don't hit at the same time, so it's not a mix-up. But because the Bufala is 3 hits, you have enough time to vary your timing as well and kind of screw with your opponent. On top of that, that jump B that we talked about before just now, if she has 50 meters, she could just bust out and do it whenever she wants, and it leads into about 35% damage. So you might be like, okay, her mid-range is really good because she's got the big sword, she knocks you down, she can do this winning pattern with highs and lows that you can't see and loop it over and over. Cool. Let me run away then. What if I pick a zoner like Yukiko or something? Can I just run away from her? No. Not even guns. Naoto has a gun. Not even guns can stop Mitsuru, because she has ways to attack from full screen. Her persona, Artemisia, attacks from full screen almost, and there's an anti-air version as well, so you can't retreat too much in the air. So she's kind of a really complete package. Like, if you're full screen, she can do stuff. If you're mid-range, she can do stuff. If she's close to you, she can do her pressure, and you're scared because if you get counter hit, she's gonna get a fat combo. Speaking of not being safe anywhere on the screen, let's talk about coup droit. Okay, so Mitsuru, of course, in the English dub, she loves her some French, right? Très bien and all that. So she has coup droit. It is one of the most ridiculous moves I've ever seen in an Arc 6 fighting game ever. It's a charge move, but she's always moving forward. She has all these ways of moving forward with her normals, and this really takes advantage of it. You can vary the frame data, so how much advantage she has, by holding back and making it hit later. And really, there's not really things that people can do about it. The light version, the A version, is kind of easier to deal with because she can't hold it, but the B version, she could hold and make heavily advantage and go into her ideal range, which, you know, again, people can't deal with because they don't have swords. She has a sword. So combine this with her mid-range, her full screen projectile, her huge damage, and her great knockdown, and you have such a complete, thorough character. So I was actually thinking about this game because Dragon Ball has a lot of stuff that Persona 4 Arena also has. This is the first fighting game that has the mythical, infamous, maybe is a better word, auto combo. People were really angry when auto combos were introduced to this game. People don't like auto combos in Dragon Ball as well. There's a bunch of mechanics that kind of carry between both games. And this is a beloved franchise as well, and people are really hoping for Persona 5 Arena, myself as well. So I want to use these videos. Occasionally I'll be uploading a video on Persona to kind of just take a look back on the game, the characters, some of the major events that happen in tournaments, kind of a little bit of a retrospective while silently wishing for a Persona 5 Arena, because please let me play on in a fighting game, please. So as usual, if you guys have any questions or comments, feel free to leave them in the comment section below. Like and subscribe if you feel like it, and I'll see you guys next time. Peace out.